All right, Shabbos, say good morning, good morning. Let us begin. So we're continuing Mesillas Yesharim today in Parak Yud Tes in Mesillas Yesharim, and actually we're going to finish up today the section of Ava. So the Ramchal writes as follows. He says, "Ube'inyan lomdei Torah." Now remember again, we're speaking about different forms of kavod. Different forms. Greg, I tried it already. It's. I think it's just going to take a few moments. So it says, "Ube'inyan lomdei Torah." When it comes ultimately again to kavod for those who go ahead and learn Torah, hine mikra kaso. There's a pasuk, and what's the pasuk? Mipnei seva takum v'adarta pnei zakin. Literally again, stand up in front of a seva and give hidur, give honor to a zakin. Now, remember again, so this is very interesting because the idea of seva and zakin seem to be repetitive. So Chazal teach us that the word seva refers to someone who is older. Zakin refers to Talmidei Chachamim. Zeh shekana chachma, one who has acquired wisdom. So here the Torah is teaching us the need to give kavod to Talmidei Chachamim. And then Ramchal writes, Umino yafinon l'chol minei kavod she'efshar lasos lahem sharai v'adai l'chasid shi'aseu. So I'll say from here we learn the idea that one is obligated to give kavod to Talmidei Chachamim. Because again, we understand this. Why do you have to give kavod to Talmidei Chachamim? Because giving kavod to a Talmid Chacham is like giving kavod to Torah. Right? I shouldn't say like. Is giving kavod to Torah. Giving kavod to Torah is ultimately giving kavod to the Ribono Shel Olam. Hence the obligation that each of us have to give kavod to Talmidei Chachamim. Ukvar amru zichron lebracha ve'asirei Hashem yechabed. And again, Chazal already taught us that ultimately those who fear God should be honored. Zeh Yehoshaphat Melech Yehuda. So the example of this is Yehoshaphat, the king of Yehuda. Well, listen to how beautiful this is. Shekevan shahaya roeh Talmid Chacham haya omed mikiso umechabko umenashko va'omerlo. And as soon as Yehoshaphat would go ahead and see a Talmid Chacham, what would he do? He would see a Talmid. Imagine this scene. He would stand up. He would hug the Talmid Chacham, kiss the Talmid Chacham, va'omerlo, and he would say, Rebbe, Mori, Mori. Right? My Rebbe, my teacher. This is how Yehoshaphat would interact with every Talmid Chacham. Rabbi Zera, listen to this. Kishaya cholish milimudo. This is actually very interesting. Rabbi Zera was tired from learning. Now, what does it mean tired from learning? So this is very interesting. In other words, he felt that he couldn't pay attention to learning. So first of all, it's a very, what's the word? A very affirming or very, we'll call it affirming Gemara that Rabbi Zera also had times when he was learning where he's like, you know what, I just can't really pay attention right now. My head is not in this. So I will say, here's the interesting thing. What do you do with yourself when you don't have the concentration to sit and learn? Well, here's what Rabbi Zera did. He would seat himself by the opening of the Beis Medrash. Lasos mitzvah kisheyakom l'fnei Talmidei Chachamim. He would sit at the entrance of the Beis Medrash, and every single time a Talmid Chacham walked into the Beis Medrash, he would stand up. Meaning that if I'm not going to learn Torah, because whatever, I'm not in the right headspace to sit down and learn, I'm going to honor Talmidei Chachamim, and that in and of itself is a form of kavod Torah. Kol ele dvarim shekvar roim anachnu ayos havari yisbarach shemo chafetz bam v'gila daito ha'elyon bazeh. So remember again, let's take a step back. What is the definition of chasidus? The definition of chasidus, or the definition of a chassid, is someone who what? Aims to exceed expectations. Well, how do you exceed expectations? On a very simple level. In order to exceed expectations, what's the first thing you need to know? What are the expectations? So remember again, how do we know in life what the expectations are? How do we know? Mitzvahs. Mitzvahs are the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu communicates his expectations to us. So, it's actually interesting, by the way, because I was thinking about this, that it's also such a good lesson for parenting. Sometimes parents become frustrated when children don't do certain things. And it's interesting, I think sometimes as parents, we assume that our children understand what our expectations are of them. And the truth is, you can't expect anyone to know anything unless, of course, it's communicated to them. V'haraya, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't expect us to know His expectations of Him, His expectations of us, just by ourselves. What does He do? He gives us a Torah. And that Torah is filled with 613 expectations. And then we have Mishnah, then we have Gemara, and then we have Shulchan Aruch, which are filled with a whole variety of explanations of those expectations. It's such an incredible yesod. So what does the Chassid do? The Chassid says, okay, there's a mitzvah. This is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu expects of me, which means this is something that's important to God. Well, if it's important to God, let me figure out additional ways in which I could exceed these expectations. That's what the Talmud. So in this particular example, what does the Chassid see? Hashem wants me to give honor to Talmidei Chachamim. Mipnei seva takum v'hadarta pnei zaken. That is what Hashem wants. That is what Hashem wants. Okay, now that I know that's what Hashem wants, so we'll say, so again, there's how I fulfill that mitzvah, to be a tzaddik, and then the Chassid says, okay, how can I now go ahead and exceed expectations in this realm as well? It's incredible. The Chayvan Shekain, Mia Isha Chafitz Lasos Nachas Ruach Liyotzro. If a person wants to be a chassid and give nachas to Hashem, Hinei B'derech Zeh Yelech V'Yosif Lekach B'Tach Bulos V'Lasos Hayashel Lefanav Yisbarach. He'll find additional ways, we'll call it unscripted ways, in which to go ahead and be mechabed Talmidei Chachamim. And included in this, well, it's actually very beautiful, B'chlal Zeh, Kimokein, Kibud Beis HaKnesses, Ubeis HaMedrash. Similar in this Rabosai is honoring a shul, giving honor to a Beis Medrash. She'ein dai shelo yinag bem kalos rosh. Now Rabosai, here's what's interesting: is what's the halacha? We actually did this in Smichas Chaver the last Zman, right? It's not enough. In other words, there's a halacha in a shul and Beis Medrash. What's the halacha in the shul Beis Medrash? The halacha is you can't act with kalos rosh. Right? You can't act like in a frivolous way, in a lightheaded way, like in a disrespectful way. But there's more than that. Ella, sheinag bahem kol minei kibud umora b'chol min hagav v'chol pulosav. Rather, a person has to act with a sense of honor, a sense of yira in all of his actions, in all of his dealings within a shul, within a Beis Medrash. He's including this over here because this is also called kavod Torah. In other words, the kavod we give to Talmidei Chachamim is a form of kavod to Torah. Similarly, again, the kavod a person gives to a Beis Medrash, to a Beis HaKnesses, is a form of kavod Torah, which ultimately is a form of kavod to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'chol ma shelo haya oseh b'heichal melech. Therefore, whatever you wouldn't do in the king's palace, lo ya'aseh bohem. Don't do in the shul or in the Beis Medrash. Right? So we stop over here for today, a smaller section for today, but a really beautiful idea. And I will say again, you'll notice the Ramchal is just driving home the core point, just using a variety of different real life examples. But the yesod is always the same. The definition of the chassid, the person who aims and strives to exceed expectations, sees mitzvos as an expression of what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants, divine intent, divine will, and then ultimately figures out how to even go beyond that. We'll say, Shkoyach, we'll stop here for today. Testing.